My biggest concern with our country turning into a renter's economy is how will the millennial and Gen Zers retire comfortably if they don't own a house and are going to have to rent forever? Because if you look at 1994, the average house was 130,000 and rent was 450 bucks. If someone bought a house in 1994, 30 years later, today, that home is probably worth around 400,000 and it's paid off. That is part of their net worth. Rent is 1950, but they don't have to pay 1950 because their house is paid off. They have property taxes and homeowners insurance for only $600. Well, what if the same thing happens in the next 30 years? The average house in 2054 will be 1.2 million, rent will be 8,500, but the property tax and homeowners insurance on this home will only be $2,000. So if someone was able to buy a house now or a couple years ago or in a few years, they'll have a house worth $1.2 million in their net worth. They won't be burdened with 8,500 and they can retire with the housing burden of only $2,000. But what about the generation or the people who can't buy a house and in 30 years they're going to be spending $8,500 on rent? How do you retire if your rent's going to be $8,500? You go, Freddie, that's ridiculous. Why? Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Vancouver are already spending $4,000 or $5,000. Why wouldn't Orlando, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Phoenix, why wouldn't it be $8,500? If it happens exactly the same way, this is what rent will be. This is a major concern. How can you give the millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha hope about the future if we don't get these institutional investors under control or put systems in place that will give millennials and Gen Zs a path to retirement? And to make matters worse, Social Security might not even be there, and now housing? So what are we left with?